You're sitting there right now, scrolling, and there's this quiet thought that keeps circling in the back of your head. You keep telling yourself you'll get serious soon, next month, after one last weekend of doing nothing. And here's the part almost nobody says out loud. The version of you that's going to fix everything later is the same guy who put it off today. And tomorrow, he'll make the exact same promise. There's a word for the thing that finally snaps that loop. And somewhere along the way, the world turned it into a punchline. People hear it and picture a gym bro flexing in the mirror, or some online guru selling a course on how to boss everyone around. So let's throw all of that out, because the real thing was never about showing off. It's a set of life principles, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly which ones you've been quietly dodging. The last few are the ones most people won't even bring up with their closest friends, so stick around. Here on Brad Walker, I'll be straight with you about what this is. I'm not a licensed therapist or a life coach with a certificate on the wall, and I won't pretend to be. This is my own experience, my own read on how things work, and the patterns I've watched play out in people who actually built something. Take what's useful, leave the rest. But I'd put money on it that most men who really made something, who built a business or a solid family or a craft they're proud of, would nod along with a lot of this. Maybe this turns into the talk you never got to have with a father or an older brother who wasn't around. Or maybe it's just a chance to check your own compass and ask if you're actually heading where you want to go. And by the way, even though I'm framing this as a man's conversation, I think there's something here for anyone watching, even if it's just a window into how the people around you are wrestling with the same stuff. Let me start somewhere uncomfortable. I want you to actually look around at wherever you are right now. Maybe you're home under a blanket watching motivational videos, which, let's be honest, is its own little tradition. Maybe you're on a train, stuck in traffic, walking somewhere. Doesn't matter. Here's the real question. Do you like what you see around you? Did you choose to be exactly here? Or did it just kind of happen to you while you were waiting for life to start? Be honest with yourself for a second, because here's the part that stings. All of it, the good and the disappointing, came downstream from your own thoughts and your own actions. The life around you is basically a mirror, and the trap so many people fall into is believing they deserve way more than they've got, that they're just temporarily underrated and the world hasn't caught on yet. But that's a story we tell ourselves to feel better. Where you stand today is a pretty honest snapshot of what you've built and what you've avoided building. So if you don't like the reflection, if you want better, the first principle is the ground everything else stands on. Take full responsibility for your life and everything in it. As weird as it sounds, almost nothing landed in your lap by pure accident. You had a hand in pulling it there. And the practical move is easy to say and hard to do. Stop blaming your parents, your boss, the economy, inflation, the competition, the timing, or whatever's at the top of the excuse list this week. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to politely announce itself. You just start. Because if you won't take ownership of your own direction, the world will happily find a use for you anyway. You'll spend your days building someone else's vision and chasing someone else's goals, and you'll call it being realistic. The second principle is learning to move through pain. I single it out because so many people today are hunting for easy money and instant results with nothing real behind them. And the honest truth is, there's no easy path. The fastest road is almost always the longest one, and the easiest road is almost always the hardest in the end. It sounds like a riddle, but watch how it plays out. While you sit there waiting for the perfect opportunity, the magic break that sets up ideal conditions, time just leaks away into nothing. If you stopped waiting and instead picked one target and hammered it without letting up, you'd probably already be holding a result. Maybe not a flawless one, but something solid and real. Now there's a catch worth getting. Picture a salesman who calls the same list every single day, droning through the same script to the same tired contacts. No matter how focused and disciplined he is, his life probably won't change much, because grinding the same level over and over isn't the same as growing. Real results need a jump, the way an athlete has to load the bar and fully commit to lift a new weight. Here's the cycle the way I see it. You take on more responsibility, more moving parts. It feels awful, heavy, uncomfortable. Then you adapt and you keep going. Then it gets hard again, so you take on something bigger. Then you smooth it out, build a system, and step up to the next loop. It's cyclical, and that's how you climb. No new load, no new difficulty, no growth. That's just how it works. Which leads straight into the next principle, learning to manage your impulses. Let me explain it through an experiment that's almost legendary by now. Researchers once put an electrode into the pleasure center of a rat's brain, and wired it to a lever inside the cage. Every press sent a tiny pulse of reward. So what did the animal do? It pressed that lever again and again without stopping. It ignored food, it ignored sleep, it ignored everything that kept it alive, just chasing the next hit until it pressed itself right into the grave. And the reason that story matters is that the human brain runs on weirdly similar wiring. Every time you reach for the greasy food, swipe through another hour of short videos, chase another cheap hit of stimulation, you're pressing that same lever. It feels good. Dopamine floods in, an ocean of it. A couple minutes later, you want more, and the loop closes around you. Here's what you really have to sit with. In that state, it's almost impossible to learn anything or do real work. You sit down to focus, you glance at your phone, and the day evaporates. Tasks undone, guilt rising, and tomorrow, the whole thing repeats. This isn't a problem reserved for the weak or the lazy. Fast dopamine drains the energy out of brilliant, talented people too, and it leaves behind nothing but restlessness and irritation. So one of the most valuable skills you can build in this era is the ability to hold yourself steady, to focus, and to trade fast pleasure for slow rewards. Exercise, reading, a long walk, real sleep. Those are the things that charge you up over the long haul, that actually carry you forward instead of hollowing you out like that rat in the cage. The fourth principle is honesty. It's no secret the world runs thick with lies. People constantly want to look better than they are. They stretch the truth about their income, their relationships, basically everything. But the most dangerous lie of all is the one you tell yourself. And it almost never shows up as anything dramatic. It hides in tiny moments. A man tells himself today's a rest day from training, when no rest day was ever actually on the plan. Or he says he'll do the task right after dinner. Then dinner stretches out, slides into a show, the show pulls him in, and the work quietly moves to tomorrow. And watch what just happened. Plain procrastination got dressed up as self-care and mindfulness. I'm tired. I need to recharge. I deserve to relax. I'll handle it tomorrow. When under the pretty words, it was just dodging. Want a small tool for that? Here it is. In those moments, it helps way more to say the blunt version out loud. I'm not doing this because I'm being lazy. I'm putting it off because I'm scared it'll be hard. On one hand, that admission feels genuinely unpleasant. On the other hand, that's exactly what fires up your inner backbone. In that flash of discomfort, you sometimes feel embarrassed enough to actually get up and do the thing you were avoiding. And even if you don't do it right then, tomorrow, you'll remember that yesterday you let yourself slide. And that memory nudges you to follow through instead of folding again. There's another layer here worth underlining. When you tell yourself you'll do something later and you don't, over and over, you slowly eat away at trust. And the first trust to crack is the trust you have in yourself. I think that's the real reason so many people, years down the line, can't bring themselves to take a big swing. Their own brain stopped believing their promises a long time ago. And the pattern doesn't stay put. If you can't be honest with yourself, you won't be honest with anyone else either. And without trust, there's no family, no real friendship, no genuine partnership. So honesty isn't some abstract virtue you wave around for points. It's the foundation, and without it, everything else eventually caves in. The fifth principle is to build your brotherhood. Picture it for a second. You're training, working, building something, and right next to you are a handful of people just as hungry and driven as you are. They push you when you want to quit. Take the simplest example, the gym. You're lifting together, and someone goes, "Come on, don't coast, throw on one more set." You joke around, you grind, then you sit down and eat together. Then you open your laptops and get back to work, helping each other move your own projects forward. In a setup like that, growth gets so much easier, and it doesn't matter what part of life we're talking about. I'll give you my own example. One of the best parts of my week is the weekend workout. There's usually one day, a Saturday or Sunday, when nothing's rushing and every task is already closed. And a few of us spend hours just hanging on the pull-up bars at the park. It's like yoga and meditation, except for guys. And the next morning, every muscle in my body lets me know about it. So the principle is simple. Find your brothers. With them, it's far easier to hold the line on discipline. It's more fun to train. You're always daring each other to do more, comparing notes, notes, swapping hard-won lessons, having each other's backs. The people you surround yourself with quietly decide who you become, so pick them on purpose. The next principle is to chase mastery. Muhammad Ali trained for hours every single day and became a legend in the ring. Steve Jobs spent years obsessing over products that reshaped the world. Leo Tolstoy wrote across decades, and people still read those books today. Every one of them shared one trait. They picked a direction and went deep, instead of hopping from one shiny thing to the next. Now look at how a lot of people operate today. This week, it's an online store. Next week, a coding boot camp. Then, maybe opening a coffee shop. Then, a month later, it's graphic design. All of it floaty and weightless. All of it chasing fast money and a quick taste of that imagined breakthrough feeling. There's a real difference here. One thing is honestly searching, trying different directions and doing each one properly. You try it, you actually learn the craft, you get some real results, and then you make an informed call. That's healthy. It's a completely different thing to just bounce off everything the second it gets hard, ditching each path because the money didn't show up as fast as you wanted. So here's some advice for anyone who keeps leaping from topic to topic trying to find themselves. Get your eyes off the money and onto the craft. And funny enough, when you do that, the money usually shows up faster. Sit with this question. In what field would you actually be willing to go deep? Where do you really want to understand things at the root and grow real expertise? Then start giving that your time. At first, you might have to run it alongside the job that pays your bills. But little by little, as your skill and your understanding deepen, that direction starts giving back. And eventually, it can become the thing that supports you. And here's something important. Even in work you love, there'll be stretches where nothing goes right, where it feels like everything's sliding downhill. The difference is in how you read the difficulty. When you're deep in something you genuinely care about, the hard parts feel more like an interesting challenge. In a job you don't care about, that same difficulty turns into pure misery, and that road leads straight to burnout. So learn to tell yourself the truth about where you simply didn't push hard enough and quit, versus where the thing is genuinely finished and it's honestly time to move on to something new. We're about halfway through, so let me pause for a second. If anything so far has landed for you, if you've caught yourself underlining something in your head, I'd genuinely love to know which principle hit hardest. Drop it in the comments right now, just the number or a line about it, because reading where this lands for you tells me what to dig into next. And honestly, those comments are half the reason I keep making these. The seventh principle is to be brave. Think about how a lot of us grew up. Our mothers, out of love, swooped in and rescued us from anything remotely scary. And so now, without even noticing, plenty of people just shut down at the first jolt of fear, or quietly drift away from it, because somewhere deep down, they're still waiting for someone to come fix it. But nobody's coming, and you're old enough to know that. Life is built tougher than that. If you want to start a business, it's going to be scary to hire people and scarier to let them go. Starting a career, it's frightening to be the new person who knows nothing. Even just speaking up in a meeting and saying what you actually think can feel terrifying. And those moments are exactly where it gets decided whether you stay a kid waiting to be saved or grow into the person you want to be. Because courage was never the absence of fear. Fear is a normal, useful function of the body. Courage is feeling the fear and walking forward anyway. Walking up to someone you find attractive, asking your boss for the raise, putting real money on the line to test a business idea. Your voice shakes, your heart pounds, and you do it anyway. And you grow on the inside. I think it's vital to keep touching that edge, because right where it feels scary is exactly where growth starts. But the flip side matters too. Don't throw yourself into full panic, because the fear should be liftable, a weight you can actually carry, not one that breaks you. The next principle is to master yourself. Picture a scene. You're having a candlelit dinner, and one of the candles catches the edge of the tablecloth. What do? A few options. You can calmly pat it out and carry on with your evening. Or you can leap up in a frenzy. Fire, the whole place is going up. The house is going to burn down. We're all done for. The example's exaggerated and a little silly, but it's painfully accurate. So often, out of pure reflex, instead of calmly looking for a solution, we start winding ourselves up. What if it gets even worse? What if everything falls apart? And then all our energy drains away, not into solving the problem, but into stewing in our own anxiety. So here's a tool for that. When the worry crashes over you, just stop and ask yourself two questions. First, what's the worst that could realistically happen? Once you've answered, actually walk through that scenario fully, in vivid detail. As strange as it sounds, that usually makes you feel lighter because anxiety is mostly about uncertainty, about not knowing what's coming. Then ask the second question. What can I do right now to soften the fallout? Answer it, and then just do that thing. Your focus always belongs on action, because as long as you sit there spinning anxious thoughts, you only deepen the problem and land on no solution at all. The next principle is to be strong. And I don't mean everyone needs to become a competitive powerlifter or a bodybuilder, but a baseline level of strength belongs to everyone. A couple pull-ups, a set of push-ups, that's just a basic life minimum. Imagine a real emergency. A child trapped in a hot car, the door jammed, and the inside heating up fast. You need to break the glass. If you can't physically do it yourself, you're left running to find some other man to come save your kids. And sure, there's no shame in doing what the situation calls for, but the thought that you couldn't handle it yourself, that quietly gnaws at you. The world can be a hard place, and a little strength matters. There's nothing extreme about it. Some basic ability to move weight, to handle your own body, gives you a kind of quiet confidence and a sense that you'll manage most of what life throws at you. And strength obviously isn't only about muscle, it's about an inner backbone. If you can make yourself pick up the bar when you really don't feel like it, you're training control over more than your body. You're training your mind. And that makes you stronger on both fronts at once. The 10th principle is to have a vision. Picture this. If I had to draw it, I'd write the letter A, that's me today, and across from it, the letter B, that's me 10 years from now, with an arrow running from A to B. That arrow is the whole thing. It starts with honesty, with the willingness to look at your life exactly as it is, your point A. Then you decide where you actually want to end up, your point B. And then you move, step by step, from A toward B, never ditching what you started, owning everything that happens along the road. And here's the striking part. Most people have no point B at all. They live paycheck to paycheck, surviving until the evening after work or class just to eat something, play a game, blow off steam on Friday night. And even when they set goals, the goals live inside a game. Clear the level, unlock the achievement. In the game, they feel like heroes and winners, but in real life, they keep losing because the walk from A to B is a skill they never learned. So the takeaway is simple. Do you want to be the hero of your own life instead of a background character? Then plant your point B and start walking toward it. The 11th principle is the unexpected one. Believe and be grateful. You know what the strongest people I've met tend to share? They lean on something larger than themselves. For some, it's faith in God. For others, it's the memory of their ancestors and the strength of where they come from. Some build a mission for their life or their company. Some live for their family. And here's what matters. When a person feels tied to something bigger, they get steadier. They're less rattled by chaos. They have meaning, an inner anchor, and that means more strength to keep moving forward. One caveat though, if you haven't found your mission yet, don't go chasing it through mystical shortcuts or trying to manufacture something fake. That's as pointless as spending years hunting for your one true purpose. Just act, do the work in front of you, and the meaning tends to find you on its own. We're on the final stretch now. There's a theory that happiness is just a well-organized life, and I genuinely agree with it. Watch how the bad version usually goes. You oversleep by half an hour, so now you're already late for the first meeting, driving there in a panic. You rush through it just to get to the next thing. You skip lunch, miss your workout, start beating yourself up. By the time you get home, you're drained, and you dump all that negativity onto whoever happens to be nearby, the people you love most. And it repeats day after day. Because at the root of it, the organization of your life is broken. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Write out all the important areas: work, family, health, exercise, rest. Then spread them across your time, so each one has its own place. And suddenly, you stop living like a hamster on a wheel, because the basic machinery of your life is running on purpose. You know what to do and when. And you'll also notice that if something doesn't fit anywhere, maybe it wasn't really that important to you after all. That ability to organize your own life is one of the core principles. because it's the thing that lets you feel like you've actually got your hands on the wheel. The final principle, the 13th, is to create a legacy. Maybe you have a family, kids you're raising, or some other shape your life takes. Maybe you have students, a team you're growing, a venture with a real mission behind it. That's where genuine strength lives. You're not just burning through years, you're leaving something behind. You're passing on knowledge, experience, values, pouring yourself into people, and all of that becomes a continuation of you, something that outlives you. That's truly powerful. So many people today live only for the moment. Family gets pushed to later. The big decision gets filed under someday. And the cruel twist is that someday, very often, never comes. Then one day, you glance back and ask yourself what you actually leave behind. Piles of clutter, credit card debt, unfinished business, grudges, conflicts, emptiness. Is that the legacy? A real adult thinks about the mark they want to leave on this earth and lives with that horizon in view, doing everything they can to make sure their life isn't wasted. And that's exactly what creates meaning. That's what gives you the strength to get up in the morning and actually do something with the day. So those are the principles I wanted to walk you through. And here are the next steps worth thinking about. Pick just one of them, the one that landed hardest, and act on it this week, not someday. Take honest ownership of where you stand. Plant your point B, trade one fast hit for one slow reward, and tell yourself the truth about where you've been hiding. You don't have to overhaul your whole life by tomorrow morning. You just have to take the next real step and let the momentum build from there. And remember, this is just one person's experience and take, shared to get you thinking, not a substitute for guidance built around your own situation. So take what serves you and run with it. If even one idea here gave you something to chew on, do me a favor and hit subscribe and drop a like. The channel's working toward its first 1,000 subscribers, and every single one genuinely helps keep these videos coming. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.